Adventures of Miracle Mira, The Walking Stick. Written by Sindhu Kavirappa. Narrated by Mindy Herbeck. And music by Gaia Deepak. Once upon a time, in a faraway village, there lived a man with his daughter. Her name was Mira. Mira was a beautiful girl with long hair and gorgeous black eyes. She was lame by birth. Her left leg was shorter than her right, which made her limp as she walked. But there was something fascinating about her. She was always smiling and joyful. People in the village fondly called her Miracle Mira. Her father was a toy maker who carved beautiful wooden toys, which Mira sold at the village market. There were days when people did not buy any toys, and Mira and her father had to go to bed hungry. But Mira never complained. She remained cheerful and joyful at all times. When Mira turned 6, her father presented her with a walking stick. He said, "My dear little girl, I am too poor to give you a big present. But here is a walking stick I made specially for you. It is not an ordinary stick. I have made it with a lot of love and care. It will protect you at all times." Little Mira loved her present. She loved it more than anything she ever had. It was her father's first ever gift to her in all those years. She kept it safely by her side that night when she went to bed. The next morning, Mira took her new walking stick with her to the village market. She was very happy and kept talking to her stick as she walked. She explained everything she saw. "Now we are passing by the river, and now the trees with beautiful red flowers. Here comes Tommy, the village dog." As she settled down in her little toy store, a young boy, walking with his father, stopped by and asked his father to buy him a toy. His father was a rich man. He bought all the 5 toys Mira had brought with her that day and paid her $1 for it. Mira had never seen a dollar bill until then. She was delighted. She grabbed her stick and ran home in excitement. Her father was very happy, too. They ate a good meal that night and even enjoyed a sweet candy for dessert. For the next 2 weeks, Mira sold everything her father made. Mira thought it was her walking stick that had brought them the good fortune. She continued to talk to her walking stick, treating it as her best friend. One day, at the village market, Mira had sold all her toys when the same little boy and his rich father stopped by. He wanted more toys. But then Mira had none left. She said, "I am very sorry. I have no toys left today. Please come by tomorrow, and I shall have more toys for you." But the little boy was adamant. He wanted a toy right then and there. He looked around and found Mira's walking stick lying on the ground. He shouted with joy, "I want that stick! I want that stick! Give it to me!" Mira quickly said that it was her walking stick and she couldn't give it to him. But the little boy began to cry, and his father asked Mira to sell it to him. He offered to pay her $1 for the stick. But Mira refused again. She held it tight in her hands and said she couldn't part with it. Now, the rich man, who was in a hurry to leave, got annoyed and shouted at Mira, telling her to just hand over the stick to the little boy and take the $1. Mira had no choice but to give her stick away. With tears in her eyes, she hugged her stick and whispered goodbye. She then handed it to the little boy and said, "I don't need the money. You can keep it, but please take good care of the stick." The little boy took the stick and walked happily away. Mira came home, sad and sobbing. She hugged her father and narrated all that had happened at the market. Her father consoled her. He said, "Don't be sad, dear Mira. Be happy that you had the stick with you all these days. Remember the good times you had, and that will see you through." The next day, Mira went back to selling toys at the village market. She was not able to sell any that day, the day after, and that whole week. Mira was sad, and she missed her stick a lot. She had lost her best friend forever. 2 weeks passed by. One evening, as Mira was wrapping up her unsold toys and getting ready to leave for the day, the same little boy and his rich father stopped by. Mira saw the stick in the boy's hands, and her face lit up with joy. She smiled and looked longingly at her best friend. The rich man looked at Mira and said, "Little girl, did you know that this stick can talk? It has been saying, 'I want Mira, I want Mira,' all along. This must be some kind of magic stick that wants to be with you. You are a kind-hearted girl. We would like you to take your stick back." Mira could not believe her ears. She quickly held her hand out as the little boy gave the stick back to her. Mira ran home with joy. She had a million things to tell her best friend. She had missed her friend so much. Her father was happy to see the stick back with Mira. He hugged her and said, "I told you it was no ordinary stick. I am happy you got it back." With the walking stick back by her side, the good days were back again. Mira sold all her father's toys, and they had enough and more money to live a happy life. Mira never parted with her stick again, and they lived happily ever after. The end.